Right, so as I said there, we've run through the rigs and the bait and everything, and now I'm going to show you how to go about plumbing up a waggler on still water. Most important thing to consider is your plummets when you're using a waggler like this. Obviously your plummet's going to give you the reading of the bottom, and when you're getting into fishing, it's one of the most important things you'll ever learn is how to plumb up a peg, because that teaches you what the contours of the peg are, the depth, and it gives you a clue as to where the fish are going to be and where you can really feed. Also, the more that you learn about using a plummet, you'll be able to read what kind of bottom you're fishing on, whether it's silty, whether it's rocky, or whether it's weedy. So you'll learn a lot using a plummet. The plummets I like to use for waggler fishing are about 20 grams to 25, nice and heavy, and I tend to use these more aerodynamic plummets rather than using, say, a silk plummet like that, which is more for pearl fishing. I like to use nice thin plummets which will cast very easily, so I can get to the range that I want. Again, one of the other reasons why we don't shot the float before we plumb up is to not have too lots of weight on the line. Basically what that means is that when you cast the rig with a plummet on, it's not going to cartwheel, because the entirety of the weight is based around the hook. So obviously the rest of the rig will just follow that in the air and it'll cast nice and easily. Plummets are dead simple to put on the line. All you do is pass the hook through the little loop in the top and then just paste the hook into the bottom of the plummet like so. And as you can see, it's a nice and simple process. And with the rig like that, you're obviously not going to tangle it. So to start off, as I've untangled this from the end of the rod, the casting of a plummet, it's a bit of a skill to learn, because 99% of the time you're going to have to use an underhand cast. If you try and use an overhead cast, there's a risk of snapping the rod, and it's just generally not something that you want to be doing. So what I tend to do is always stand up when I'm casting a plummet, let about the same length of line out as the plummet to the reel, maybe a little bit less, and what that allows you to do is pull the plummet and sort of compress the rod to catapult the plummet out. So I'll quickly show you how to do that now. Use a finger on the spool and hold the plummet in your left hand, say if you're casting right-handed. It's a simple process of putting a bend in the rod and flicking the plummet out, just like so, and then just feathering the cast down, and then you can see the plummet will go in like so. Again, you want to be looking at a far bank marker when you're plumbing up, and decide where you want to fish in the peg. I know there's an area that I want to fish. There's a nice far bank marker which is a tree that I'm going to fish to today, so I'm actually going to try and put the plummet in line with that. Again, it just comes down to practice how to cast a plummet, but once you learn it, it's dead simple. And as you can see there, I'm able to cast that well out into the lake, probably some 25-30 yards, maybe a bit more if I really punched it. But I'm not looking to fish any further than that out. So you can see where that's landed now, and you'll see how the float's actually sticking up out the water. Again, this comes down to why we don't actually shot the float prior to plumbing up, because then the float's got its maximum buoyancy to pull against the plummet. So as soon as I move that plummet and release the line, you can see the float will pop up immediately. And you can see now, if the float was obviously shotted, it would cock down. You wouldn't be able to tell just how far off bottom or on bottom you are. With that, you can see the float is just sat at an angle, so the line's actually tight from the plummet to the float adapter where the float is, and that's just telling me that the float's about 3 or 4 inches over depth, which for us today is going to be perfect. What I will do though, and it's always worth doing, is even if you think that's about right, is just try and get it plumbed up to absolute dead depth, and then you can always mark that on your rod and use that as a reference point. So all I'll do with this is take another 3 inches off the depth, and you'll hopefully see when this goes in that the float will register down to the bristle. And the float's just not quite come up there. Same again in that instance. So I know that I've just taken that down by probably an inch or two too much. Again, when the water's clear, it's easier to see your float underneath the surface to get an idea of where it is. So all I'll do is add a few more inches to the depth again, and just repeat the process. It's exactly the same. Swing the plummet to hand, flick it out in line with your far bank marker, feather the cast, and then just give it a bit of a twitch and allow the float to pop up. And you can see there that's probably set another 1.5 inches over depth. But you can see now the float's actually sat straighter in the water, so I know if I take another couple of inches off that, it'll be bang on depth. So for what we're doing today, I'm happy to use that as my marker. And then all I do, and this is again crucial in case you do get snapped or you need to re-rig, pop the plummet to one side, put the hook in either a hook keep or the first eye, and just line it up with the eyes on the rod, and then you'll be able to use that as your reference point for the depth. So you'll see where that top shot is. If I move that down a couple of inches, it's nearly in line with that eye there, which is one below a joint, and obviously that's what I can use then as my reference point for the depth. So all I'll do then is take a mental note of that, move these shot up, and then we'll start shotting the rig now and show you exactly what I'll come up with to fish the peg that we're going to start with today.